Do you want waffles?
Good morning and welcome to Warlocks and Waffles, a show that is recommended by 9 out of 10 dentists, but unfortunately they recommend avoiding it. Welcome to the show, everybody.
That is such a generous read on the word recommend.
We're involved with
Like-
the recommendation.
I mean, yeah. Wow.
It's because we're
I've
too
never
sweet.
seen it used that way.
Welcome to the show, y'all. Oh, man. Junie, how was your weekend?
I've had an answer to this very specific question, and now it is gone. Because you could use that for anything, and I'm gonna use that for just so many terrible things.
I was proud of it.
It was good. God. What day is it, man? I don't even know what day it is anymore.
It's unfortunately Monday.
God.
This weekend went by so fast. I
Yeah.
At some point yesterday I was like, oh man, thank goodness it's only Saturday. And then I was like, oh, it's Sunday.
I legitimately I'm looking at my calendar to go
see
like,
what you
the
did.
hell. I know I went to a baby shower yesterday.
Mhm.
I know what this is the thing I wanted to talk about. I went to an eye doctor's appointment
Mhm.
on Friday to get and my eyes were a little worse. Like, one of those things where it's been 5 years. They're like, okay, we had to just tweak a little something, but nothing drastic. It's not like my
Right.
eyes have gone to
They've
shit.
deteriorated just a little bit.
Yeah. And I am just so positive that there has to be a better way to do an eye exam. And I did not, it's one of those things where I can complain and have not an actual solution. But I'm just so sure that one of those A/B tests,
Yeah.
I picked the shittier option. I don't know why. Well, no, I do know why. It was they shot lights in my eyes beforehand for the pre-test and then shot
Yep.
air in my eyes. So my eyes hurt and they would randomly water. I was like, oh, my eyes are sore. They've been assaulted and bombarded. And it's like, pick A or B. And I was like, I think A, but I keep crying.
Right.
And then she's like, all right, this is your old one, this is your new one. I was like, is the new one better? Like, I don't know anymore. Which one was A again? And it's this anxiety. And then my wife told me, it's like, yeah, there was one year my eyes got better. And I was like, I don't know. I think you did the same thing where you just kind of like probably picked the other ones and then they're better all of a sudden.
I hate that test so much.
And then I was bombarded with the assault of how much everything costs. And I know people get glasses for cheap online, and I need to do that life because I didn't like any of the glasses except for one. And I was like, I'll just get these one pair instead of two pair because there was like a deal for two for that one pair of glasses to get the stuff I get on them.
Mm-hmm.
$500.
Insane.
Or I get shittier pairs that I don't really like as much with like glare coating for $200 something.
It's insane.
And I was furious that
Yeah.
I had to pick the ones that. So I'm gonna wear glasses that I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But then the ones I was like, oh, these look nicer and they feel nicer. Oh, this one pair is just $200, and then everything else is this, and then I have to pay for the point. Oh well, oh, all right. great. I hate
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. The last time I went to the eye doctor, they talked me into like, oh well, you probably want to do contacts, right? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'd
I'm
like
a
to
big
have
baby. I can't do it.
I'd like to have some contacts. And they were like, okay, well, do you want to have like the ones that you like have to save, or like the ones that you wear once and throw away? And I was like, I mean, I don't care, whichever ones are cheaper. And they're like, we can give you a year's supply of the daily contacts, and like there's a whole thing where you get like a rebate on it. You just have to fill all this stuff out. um and so I did that, and then realized I don't like wearing contacts. So I have just a large box of contacts that I do not wear. I'm just like, I wear them when I go to like Ren fairs, and
Mm.
if I am like wanting to wear a different pair of glasses, and so I put on my like contacts and then put on like a pair of the blue light blocking glasses instead of my actual glasses. I have not had new glasses since probably 2020. It's been
I
a bit.
think it's supposed to be every 2 years you're supposed to go. Your eyes might still be fine, so it's not even like
Oh,
you're
they're
like you
not.
have to go.
My prescription is not the same. I know for a
No.
fact. But it is what it
This is now
is.
an intervention, Hunter. You shouldn't
I'm
be
gonna
driving.
go. I'm going
Yeah,
to.
you should go, Hunter.
It hasn't
Okay.
changed like a lot. It's just like
Okay.
my eyes are tired. But yeah, it's on my list. I have to make a dentist appointment and an eye doctor appointment. And go get that taken care of.
I hear a dog.
Yes, my dog is losing his mind. He is a very stupid animal.
I keep like whenever something's in the distance,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's your distance or mine because I still like I try to keep the gain low enough where you don't hear like like things from immediately
Mm-hmm.
around me, but it trips me up. I'm like, is there a dog in my apartment? I'm like, what is going on? Everybody, we're a TTRPG morning show, and today we're talking about getting canceled. Uh,
I'll
no, we
kill
can't do
you.
that one.
I'll kill you.
He doesn't want me to do that one so bad, and I don't know why.
Um,
Let's
you do. You do know why.
barrel through. No, I know. It's just so funny because it's like maybe if I just barrel through it, could
Uh,
he stop me?
if I just run hard enough at this wall, I'm sure to break through it.
An insurmountable. What'd you get? Dunkin' Donuts delivery.
Donuts and a chai tea.
Sponsor us, Duncan.
Chai tea? Chai means tea. You're drinking tea, bro.
What? What just happened? What were
Uh,
those
uh,
combination of things there? I don't know what's happening there.
into the Spider Verse, or across the Spider, whichever one was the second one.
I didn't watch the second one.
Whichever
Okay.
one was the second one's great. But there's a character in there who he's like talks about like pouring a cup of chai, and Miles is like, oh, I love chai tea, and he's like, what did you say? Chai tea? Chai means tea. You're saying tea, bro.
Okay. This very well thought out topic we were going to talk about today. Take it, throw it away, right?
Yeah.
Because you just said something that made me remember the new topic we're doing today,
Okay.
where it is I want to see that movie, right?
It's a good movie.
There's a lot of movies that or just things that I want to consume and I haven't for reasons,
Yeah.
whether it be time,
Speaking of things I want to consume, I'm gonna eat this donut while you
donuts, poverty, can't afford it, whatever the situation is
you,
that is
you want to
preventing me from.
consume poverty.
I want to consume poverty. Fun fact: I don't like donuts that have cream filling.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
then you would like the second donut that's in this bag.
Okay. Yeah, get in the comments. Do you have donut do you have donut preferences? Because I just have texture stuff, so jelly and cream stuff. I'm like, nah, no, not for me. That's
My
weird.
favorite is a chocolate frosted with peanut butter cream in the middle. It's delicious.
Why would you ruin a donut like that?
Why would you be so stupid?
Are you so stupid?
Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. We're a TTRPG morning show.
Anyway,
Um,
the reason I brought that up, it was just like, are there any like modules, adventure ideas, or gimmicks or anything that you've ever wanted to run in a game but haven't because it just hasn't happened? You don't know how to do it. You haven't had the right group. You're scared. You're a fucking coward. What do you? What do you? Do you have any of those? Because for me,
is
it's
is
most
this
things.
is this the new topic? Because if this is the new topic, I do need to change the title of the episode.
We don't have to. We'll backlog it. I just got real into it. I was like, you know what? This is fucking good.
um,
Fucking, we're doing live.
I I think I would need to think about it.
Mm,
There are definitely adventures that I have like prepped and ran and then uh didn't have a whole lot of buy-in from the players.
mm,
But I would need to think through those. There's also some that I like wasn't able to run until I started running professionally. Once I started
mm.
running professionally, I was able to find the players for those. But there's a lot of great adventures out there. Um,
All right, so we are. I looked at the episode title again and realized we're making shitty NPCs that people will hate. So we
yeah,
got a lot of
yeah,
input and buy-in for about donuts, right?
yeah.
So a baker. Here we go. Here's the first NPC that you should not use in your games. Right here.
Yeah,
It
today's
is. It is
today's topic is about making NPCs your players will hate.
okay.
Just as an example, there are a lot of characters in media that are like characters that are just kind of like universally hated by the fan base, but like there's a difference between having a character who is a like just a hated character of like we don't like this character, we don't want them in the media, like anything like that, um and having a character that people like hate but they do like hating them, like
Mm-hmm.
these like characters that are just absolutely horrible, but like a tiny portion of the person does really like that character.
Yeah.
um
I make a lot of characters that like are infuriating, like they have a punchable face, but whenever they come into the scene, everybody does go like, "You motherfucker!" Like, because it's like, it's a fun part that it's like, we gotta deal with this asshole before we whatever. Um, but it's just like you love to hate them. So yeah, players. These are characters that people are gonna love to hate.
yeah.
Um, beginning with this baker that we're doing, I think he should have either donuts that look delicious but will specifically taste like something else. Hear me out though. I think it'd be really funny that if he intentionally makes it so like, oh, my donuts can only be bought in like a dozen or only be bought like in a group, right? And then everybody, I don't know how you figured out. Either you ask the players blatantly at the moment or just know beforehand, but literally go like, what's everybody's favorite donut? And just go, everybody's favorite donuts in this box.
If you want to be
But
real
then,
sneaky about this,
uh-huh.
before one of the games, tell people that you're going to pick up donuts and to let you know what their favorite donuts are, and then you go and pick those donuts up and then bring them to a session, and then in that session you're like, there's also a box on the
This is
table and it's got donuts in it.
this has been and then you can either just put cayenne on all of them and then watch your pit players actually suffer. That's not what I'm saying to do. That is funny. That's Hunter's idea. Um I was saying that it's literally like everybody's favorite donuts in there,
Hmm.
but you just make it that whoever grabs donut never grabs their favorite donut. It's always just like, oh, this has mint in it, and somebody's like, "Oh, that's the one I wanted," right? But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they even It's like, "Oh, you can no," like on the inside of the box says like no tradesies, and it's just like, He's a real dick about it. Like, it's just like, if you try to do it, I'll turn to dust.
If you try and trade, he's just like, germs. You've
like-
already
he
touched
appears-
that one.
He appears from nowhere and slaps the donut out of somebody's
Yeah.
hand.
It's a real
He's
like
very-
Solomon and the Baby issue of like
I don't know what this means. I don't get this reference. Oh yeah.
In the Bible, there's a story where like these two ladies are like they go to King Solomon, and the one lady is like,
Okay.
"This is my baby," and the other lady's like, "No, that's my baby." And Solomon's like, "Well, the only answer is I will chop this baby in half, so
Okay,
both
I
of
do
you
know
can have
this.
half
Okay.
of this baby." And the one lady is like, "Yes, if I can't have him, then no one can." And the other lady's like, "No, here's a novel idea. Don't chop a baby in half." And Solomon is like, "Ah, you are the mother, because only the mother would not chop the baby in half." It's that, except it's a guy who just really doesn't want cross-contamination of donuts. And so if you touch a donut, he's like, "Well, you already touched that one." And if you try and hand it to somebody else, he smacks it out of your hand, and now nobody gets the donut.
Yeah, the way you said it, Solomon the Baby, it sounded like a cartoon or a comic or something, and I was just like, I don't know. I was a Nickelodeon kid. I don't know if that was a Cartoon Network show. I didn't watch that one.
Catch it this week. Opening for Paramore. It's Solomon and the Baby.
Baby. What up, bitches? We're Solomon and the Baby. It's two dudes. It's only two dudes, and
one of them is the baby.
one of them is the baby. That was the baby.
Solomon and the Baby is the name of a traveling stand-up comic act, but he is a single dad, and so he just has the baby strapped to the front of him for the entire set.
That's actually brilliant.
Oh man,
how else can you work and find childcare at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Okay.
So we did it, right?
So you have a baker who is making donuts, but they're always the wrong
strapped
donuts.
on his back. So the donuts are always either baby flavored, like baby food, or either delicious and you can't cross contaminate, and you never get the donut you want. But you know they're delicious.
I love that. It reminds me of a ice cream shop I went to one time, where it was a ice cream shop where they had like all of the
split the baby. Is that
don't banana split the baby? Yeah. They had all the like little signs on the different ice creams, and a lot of them looked very similar. And I asked for this one ice cream, and they like scooped it out. They put it into the thing, gave it to me, and I like started eating it. I'm like, no. And I like took another bite, and I'm like, why is this coconut? And it like fully wasn't the ice cream that I had ordered. And then they were real cool about it, and they were like, "Hey, that is the ice cream you ordered." And I'm like, "Why does it taste like coconut?" And they're like, "It doesn't." And I'm like, "It super does." And they were like, "Did you want to buy a different ice cream?" And I was like, "No, I want the ice cream I ordered." And they were like, "That is the ice cream you ordered." And I'm like, "You're a liar." So anyway,
what the hell?
Yeah, some people are real bad at customer service. Anyway, I like the idea of weird little donut shop person.
Okay, and right next to them is shitty ice cream parlor that's been in business too long.
It's the same guy. If you go outside, you go into the ice cream parlor, and he just pops up, and he's clearly wearing like the same uniform, but the logo is different, and he's wearing like a different hat, and does not ever acknowledge the fact that he is like the same guy from next door. And if you try and ask him about it, he just says, "You'll have to speak up. I'm deaf in my left ear." And if you start yelling, he's like, "Please, sir, don't yell."
He's an eldritch being that's like trying to retire, but he's trying to find like a side business to keep himself
hustle.
Like a side business to keep himself busy, not because he needs the money, because he's just bored.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I know I'm good at sweets, so let me do donuts or ice cream.
I love that. The thing that I love the most about that is that it isn't necessarily somebody who will be hated by the full party.
Oh, without a
Someone
doubt.
someone
Oh
in the party
god.
will love that NPC and will routinely want to go back to that NPC. Um, Somebody in that party will hate them more than they've ever
Mhm.
hated any other
Yeah,
NPC. Like it is going to div divide the players so fully, and
without a
that's
doubt.
so fun
Uh,
to me.
oh god, that's happened so much, and it is always whenever I do like a joke nonsense character,
Mhm,
where it's just like hello, and they're all like oh man, this guy. And then there's one guy that's like, I'm gonna steal his shit.
mhm,
He's like determined because he loves him, because I'm gonna be the one to like finally get one over on him, whatever the situation is.
yeah,
Um, but there's always like the disproportionate, like, oh, I find joy in this encounter for a reason. Yeah.
mhm.
Uh so
I like that.
salty sweets guy.
My
That's
my first one,
hmm
would be to me, when I think about, like, characters that I just absolutely despised, one of the ones that immediately pops into my head is, Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter,
hmm hmm
who is, like, a really just obnoxious person who like has like, oh yeah, I'm this fancy guy, I'm this super
hmm
cool dude, like I did all this stuff. It's like just a horrible thing. Like I like putting aside all of the other like stuff about Harry Potter. Like
I
that
know,
when
I
I
know, man. It's
when
hard.
I
I
yeah,
know.
when like I don't support the books or anything like that anymore. But like when I was reading those books, that character really stayed with me as
hmm
a like, ooh, hate that. Their whole thing is like they take credit for other people's stuff and they're kind of useless. Um,
hmm
I think that is a very good archetype for a hated NPC, is like a bard who like the stories have traveled wide and far, of like their daring deeds. They've done all this stuff, like they're awesome. You get them with a party, and this person is like joining the party just because they need to be safely transported elsewhere. But the
hmm
party is like convinced that this person is going to be like awesome. And
hmm
then every time they're in like combat or anything like that, he just kind of like yells something like aha, like what ho at you, like
hmm
that sort of thing. And
I love playing this actor type of. I've done this before, and
yeah,
it is so much fun. Yeah.
and then disappears and they don't see him again until the end of the fight. And like that's so annoying as a player to have an NPC who just isn't contributing to the goals of things. Um, and especially if it is like them trying to do something big, where then if this person finds the chance to like get the
hmm
like get the credit for it, they will. Um, so the move here would be make them seem super cool, have the players disappointed because they find out that he's kind of useless actually. And then he goes with them to to do this mission of whatever it is. When he gets to like when they find whatever it is, when they've like killed whoever they're supposed to kill, whatever, he takes that thing or like takes the head of the like commander or whatever, and then teleports away, and just like leaves the party and then goes to the city that they're supposed to go to, turns that in, like gets credit for this thing all by himself, furthering the like legends of this person. um and then you immediately have a NPC who is like at sort of a I'm annoyed with this NPC level, and it becomes somebody who is like, oh, we're gonna kill that guy. Like that
Uh,
the I had a group who like an NPC took credit for something they did, had never met them, just like
mhm.
was found out something had been done, took credit for it, and the players hunted him down.
Y- here's something that I would suggest to that little
Yeah.
where that seems like something that if a person did steal credit for stuff like
Hmm.
that, it's like almost like too verifiable, like, you know what I mean? Because they could be like, we killed him. Look, we have the rest of the body, something like that, right?
Hmm.
But if it's something where like it's an act and it's like, well, then who technically did whatever? It would be so fun that if it's like they were traveling along the same path, they were together,
Sure.
whatever happened, and then it's like, all right, see ya. And then the little ways that like you hear rumors in taverns or
Mm.
and they just hear in passing someone recounting something they did. And then goes
So
like, I
not
can't believe
doesn't actually like take the item and disappear, just like
he
uh
tells people he did
tells
so
people he did
so
it.
so like when people get to like level 5, 6, 7, that's where you start getting renown.
Uh-huh.
They're not getting it
Right.
because their thunder's being literally stolen by so and so, and every
Hmm.
time he sees them, they're just like, "Hey, did you tell people?" It's just like, "No."
I don't know
And
what you're
he's
talking
either
about.
full of, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things like, I'm pretty sure this guy's just telling everybody he
Hmm.
did this, and then we gotta convince him, but then you're rolling a charisma check against this really good guy
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just, like, really good at telling people
He is
because he's
he
telling
is
everybody he
fully a
did it.
bard. He's fully a bard. So like
Mhm.
his deception, performance,
Yeah.
persuasion, all of those are insane. Um I you could also, if you really want to like turn up the nonsense here. I know my parties notoriously love using uh zone of truth
Mhm.
for like interrogating people. Give him like a magic tattoo or something like that that makes
Mm.
him immune to the effects of zone of truth. So like anybody who tries to interrogate it under it, he will like fail the save, where like he is
Mhm.
like the spell takes effect on him. The person who is casting the spell knows that they are under the effects of it, but he is not actually under the effects of it and can just fully lie. That's so fun. I love giving a character something that like prevents them from being affected by a specific thing, but giving it the illusion that it has worked.
I
Um,
I'm so mad because I just thought of the coolest spell and I hate it. This is the worst spell on the planet. Imagine in a reactionary,
mhm.
almost counterspell type of thing, somebody's like zone of truth, and you'd have to be next to him to hear it, but he just mumbles like gaslight. And then it's almost like you would need to have like detect magic up to see the almost super saiyan
Yeah.
aura around him, but
It's
like it's like
it's like
this lets
a
you lie hard.
yeah, it's
Like
like a mage armor type spell that you like cast on
yeah,
yourself at the beginning of the day and
it's
it
gonna
lasts
give you
for 8
advantage.
hours.
Yo, oh my god, a
Power
spell
word
called
gaslight is
gaslight.
so good.
Yo, and it just gives you like a real hardcore advantage on
Yeah,
like it's a
you have
plus and
advantage
advantage.
and expertise in deception.
Oh my god, but just like gaslight. And it's like, ooh, because I just pictured the whisper, and it's like so like
Yeah,
get chills.
yeah.
I
It
also
has
have
it
another
has a verbal component, but the verbal component is that never
is
happened.
you just say actually.
Yeah.
You just say
The verbal
there's that.
component is just telling someone else they're crazy.
Yes. I think there's two versions of this character though, and I think it's debatable which one's more infuriating.
Mhm.
It's this one, right? And then the other version that's exactly the same, except they can back up everything that they say and do.
Mm.
And you don't see it until like a very nonchalant moment where it's just like, it's like, hey, you can't do this. Like, what are you guys talking about? I could do it. And then like somebody comes up to mug them and he's just like, and he snaps his fingers and the guy like literally crumbles like a soda can.
Mhm.
Like, and you're just like, oh, oh, he can kill people with a snap. Like he
Mhm.
wasn't just saying that. Oh, he is. Should we keep starting shit with this guy? Like, yeah, like one of those
He
things where
should
it's like he's annoying, but then it's like,
right,
oh, he can actually back that up.
right.
Oh, I didn't think he could actually back it up. I thought he was just like a little punk that he stole
There's
all that stuff.
there's
Oh, he can
something
actually do it.
very like there's something very funny about a character who like is taking credit for other people's work, is like doing all this stuff, like is fully not doing those things, but is taking
Mm-hmm.
credit for it, but fully could do all of that stuff. Like it had like absolutely could have gone and done it.
The
Like
challenge is
yeah.
still making him seem like he sucks and is clearly like not the one. Like he don't have
Mhm.
that dog in him.
Mhm.
You need to make sure you make like everybody's like, oh, we could. I mean, we could take him out if we feel like it. Or let's just get rid of him. And it's just like, oh, y'all, he actually is not someone to fuck with if you really
If you
if he's actually serious about all that.
if you make him like a high elf bard, like like the players will immediately be like, ah, this guy, like, oh my
His hands are
goodness.
too soft. He ain't.
Like a
He's not gonna be able to do
gnome.
it.
Make him like a gnome bard who's just like, aha, welcome. I am Whimsy. They call
Imagine
me
the-
Whimsy Wild Magic. I'm a bard. Yahoo!
Yahoo! It's just a troll. It's a troll from the Trolls movies, but he's taller.
Oh man. I
All right,
like this.
it's Poppy from it's Poppy's dad. It's Peppy. There we go. I
Mm.
got there. It's Pep. It's just a big old mustache troll person.
The only thing I remember about Trolls is that the McElroy brothers were in Trolls 2.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
had the only reason I know that, they had a whole podcast called The McElroys Will Be in Trolls 2, which was a podcast they started recording well before they were like in Trolls 2. It was like when it was announced that there would be a second one, they started this podcast that was like, we will be in Trolls 2. And it was just documenting their journey of trying to be in Trolls 2, but they did end up getting to be in it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's like I've sent 45 emails today. I think we're one step closer.
Very early on, they have an episode that has a phone call recording of like them talking to their manager and being like, so we want to be in this, and him being like, I'll see what I can do. I don't know what to tell you about that. It's just it's very
Tell us you're gonna do it. What do we pay you for?
If you're ever like, I want to listen to a really weird podcast lineup.
You listen to this show first, right?
Yeah, and then you listen to the McElroys Will Be in Trolls 2.
All right, so I got our fourth or fifth character, and it is someone that is desperately trying to petition to join the party. It is a person that is constantly trying to submit their application to the party. It's like, I want to join.
Goodness.
What?
No, I just like that.
Oh, and but like, either make it. You need to make it good enough where there is at least a split second. Like, I mean, they can do this, right?
Right.
Like we can just say, but there has to be like a deal breaker every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either a new deal breaker where it's just like, all right, it's just like, I give everybody nightmares and they can't get full rest, unfortunately.
Right.
But like, I can do all this other stuff. It's like, nah, man. All right, I took care of that nightmare thing, so I'm good to go, right?
Yeah.
Also, a dragon wants to eat me. I had to steal like their treasure in order to get rid of the curse. But like that, we can, we can all deal with the dragon if it shows up, right? Like something. There's always some new clear like, we cannot have this person with us. Like that's not smart, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're really helpful, and it would make sense.
It's
for the
like
party to have them up there.
It's like the scene from, I think, Deadpool 2, where they're like auditioning people to join their team. Or do you remember Sky High?
Vaguely, I know of.
So
did I watch
Sky
that?
High,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I love Sky High. It's a fantastic movie. But Sky High, there's a whole scene where like all the freshmen are like showing what their powers are, and a lot of them are like real weird ones. And so
Wasn't there just
the
a kid that can glow or something?
there's a
I feel
kid
like
that
there
can
was something that
glow.
could just glow. Yeah.
There's one kid who's like got super spit. There's one
Hmm.
kid who is like, oh, I'm a shapeshifter, and then they're like, okay, well, shapeshift, and they shapeshift, and they can only shapeshift into a guinea pig. Like there's a lot of like weird abilities like that.
I
And I'm just picturing the party being like, okay, well, you want to join the party, like what can you do, what do you bring to the table,
mhm.
and then being like, oh well, I can do so many things. um
But make I think it'd be good to make him good. Like if it's
yeah,
one of those things, like
you
make it
make him
so
you make him good, but there are definite
eh,
drawbacks.
what would happen at this point is it wouldn't be you would have a different kind of relationship because I love it when things at the table or characters at the table like NPCs anyway, where the players forget you are a person
Yeah,
and then they get mad at the dice roll. Like that's
yeah.
always a big thing, right? If you make sure you try to put things in the hands of the dice, or if you play a character the right way, an NPC the
Hmm.
right way, they won't get mad at you. They won't look at you and go, "Why are you doing this?" They'll be like, "Oh, that guy sucks." They'll be like, "Oh man, we were so close," and then they'll keep going because it wasn't you. This is their story type of
Yeah.
thing. But this specific character, it will remind them that you are an asshole
Hmm.
because they will be like going through all this thing, and then there'll be one of them remembers, right? Well, it doesn't even have to be the note taker. There'll be one guy's just like, all right, well, what's the thing? And they're gonna look at you because they know
What's the trade-off?
because at this point, because it's just like, all right, no, we know the pattern now. It's all good
Hmm.
except for what does he do? Turn our pants into fleas? Like, what is the one thing? Like, what's the thing that he does? And at that point, it's just because he is like, you didn't make a guy that's good. Oh, but he might not be a good fit for us. Like, no,
Hmm.
you specifically pick something fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, you got something real bad here. Um, and then this is that player, this is that GM NPC where it's just like, you know what, this one's for me. So just literally go all the good things and how could this be the worst. It's like uh I think the idea that like a nightmare aura is kind of funny, where it's just like oh well, I kind of attune to people, I'm very empathetic that way.
Hmm.
So when I join a party, I really like join a party. Unfortunately, that does kind of give people nightmares. So if I join your party,
did
everybody will have nightmares and not get full rests.
did I
It's
tell
like, damn
you
it.
my so I run a D&D game for my coworkers that start playing.
Hmm.
And so we play every once in a while. In the last session, one of the players who's like new to the game was like, I want to go like shopping and I want to find like weird stuff. They were in this town that had like a
Hmm.
lot of weird stuff. It was like, I want to find weird stuff. Like it doesn't need to be like practical. I want to find the weirdest thing in each like pawn shop I can find.
Hmm.
And so they found three items. One was a hat that if you wear it, it gives you indigestion, and you will absolutely need to find a bathroom. The second was a skull that would randomly whistle. You have no control over what type of whistle or when it whistles, but it will just randomly whistle. And
Like from your bag, like just like or like
just
upon activate,
wherever.
just it'll just okay.
It yeah, you can't like it has no off switch. It will just whistle randomly. So if
That's perfect for an online game because I just imagine literally just hitting a button on the stream
just
deck every once
random
in a while,
whistles, yeah.
just like, dude, put some shit on there, like put a
Yeah,
wrap
yeah.
on it or something,
Why
like.
did you bring him? Put him in the leave him at the keep. And then the third
Woohoo!
one, and the reason
Mhm.
I thought of it was they found a doll that
Nope.
absorbs nightmares. It will prevent anyone who is asleep around it from having nightmares. It's kind of like a dream catcher type thing.
Okay.
If you would have had a
Why is it a
nightmare,
doll though? I
uh
hate that.
that's just what it was. If you would have had a nightmare, the doll absorbs it instead. And so you won't have a nightmare. However, every time you would have had a nightmare, the doll will scream wildly. And so
During
it,
the night.
yeah, and
Oh,
so it wakes you up anytime you would have had a nightmare.
oh, that's
Um,
funny.
so yeah, they got those 3 items and brought them back to
Imagine,
their ship. And they
im-
and in true like D&D style, the players immediately started trying to figure out how they could like
make
use
nightmares
those
happen.
items
Oh,
to
okay.
like as things that they could do in the story. Yeah.
I would have made the nightmare doll almost like a what do you call it? A basin, a chamber pot, right? Where
Mhm.
it's just like every morning you have to empty out the nightmare doll, and it's
Mhm.
literally like you could just go off to the side of the woods or whatever. You want privacy only because you go to the doll, you turn it over, and you just do this, and then you hear it's just like, Brandon, I'm not your father. Like you just hear like whatever the nightmare was, like all the dialogue from the nightmare, like
Yeah, yeah.
being you shake it out of the
Oh no,
nightmare thing.
it you pour it out and it pours out like a liquid, but that liquid will reflect all of the nightmares
All
that
the
you would have
nightmare,
had,
yeah.
and
Oh
it doesn't
god.
go away. It will stay there
Oh, that's not
continuously
right.
reflecting the
That's not
nightmares.
that's not cool. That's definitely fucked up. But real quick tangent because I love like a I have I think I recorded it somewhere because it was like just a home game my friend had done, and it was the best dumb item purchase of any character I've seen in anything I've done.
Mhm,
And it was he obviously made like a kooky inventor type of
mhm,
character, and I think like it was supposed to eventually be the payoff, like he'll have something good. We
mhm.
never got to that, so it's if anybody wants to use this shitty NPC, it's he made a bunch of like cobbled together items that were cool to him, but like they didn't. So it was like like a spoon fork, where it was like a spoon on one end and a fork on the other, but like the dimensions weren't good enough to actually make it good enough to eat. So
You
we
didn't
weren't
just
sure if it
make
was
a
supposed to be a
spork?
dagger. It was yeah, no, it wasn't because I think there was also a knife component too.
Yeah.
Like it was just not usable for mouth
Mhm.
purposes. So I was like, is it supposed to be like a dagger? Like
It's
we were always like,
it's
is
a
it supposed
fork
to
on one end, a spoon on the other, and the handle in between is a serrated knife blade.
it was something where everything was just like, oh, is it supposed to be like a this, like oh, is it like
Mhm.
at like, oh, he describes it as a eating utensil, but is it more this? But then it never actually connected,
Sure.
so it was weird. But my character was like, oh, a gnome inventor, so he kind of
Mhm.
was into it. So I was like, I was the NPC that liked, I mean, I was the character that liked him.
Yeah.
And the dumbest thing, I was just like, can I just scan the walls? Can I just anything weird? I wanted to
Mhm.
not take a lot of time because I know what it's like when it's like somebody breaks off and they're shopping and then it's like, oh, it's all about this. So I
Mhm.
wanted everything to get back to the group. I was trying to be a good player to keep the plot moving forward. And I just said, I just want to scan the shop and like if there's anything that would catch my eye, you use your judgment. You got an idea of it, just anything catch my eye. Is just like you see uh what looks like the handle, like a flattish kind of handle curve like this. Um, and it's pretty long, almost as long as you. It's about two-ish feet like that. And it looks like a ladle, but the bottom part is gone.
Mm.
Oh, so the whole ladle part is like no, the scoop part is there, but the bowl of the ladle is gone.
Oh, it's
And I'm
just
like,
like the
like a
circular ring at
ring?
the top?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And it's like 2 feet long. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, is it magical? He's like, no. And he said, he's like, have you ever had a stew and you wanted just the potatoes? Well, if you scoop this in there, you get just the potato, and that's my potato catcher. And I was like, "W- and how big is it? I bought that thing so hard, so fast, right?
Yeah.
And it was a combination of mine and my character's ADHD would not let this go.
Yeah.
I made I'll send you the picture because I did make it on Canva because I was like, I think this is what it's supposed to be. I used this thing as a weapon, as a utility, like to grapple
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
I use this thing so religiously, and it was like conceptually just so stupid. And he's like, it's really well made. You don't know what it's for or its usefulness, but like as far as the quality, I mean, it's solid. It doesn't look
Mhm.
like it'll break.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
buying it.
I love
And
it.
he also taught me the my favorite bargaining tool. If you have an eccentric shopkeep,
Mhm.
everybody, if you have an eccentric shopkeep, don't let them bargain. Don't let your player bargain. And if they do in any direction, get offended. And it was so funny where I think I got something for cheaper or something like that. And I said I wanted to pay full price for this, or I think I overpaid.
Mhm.
And he was offended. And then it
He
became a
tried he
bidding
tried
match.
to give you the discount, and you've rejected his discount.
It was something like that. I
Yeah.
think he took offense to, like, you think I need your pity unit?" And he
Yeah.
kicked me out of the shop and threw items at me. It's like as if he was like, "Get out of here." But then he was essentially throwing his inventory at me, and I was like,
Right.
"Do I have the spork spoon knife now?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that's out there." Like, a lot of the things you saw on the wall are just out there now. He put the close sign, he's gone. And then what ended up happening was me for the next few sessions trying to apologize, like it was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, come on. Come on." Just and he didn't want to talk to me like I had broke his heart. It was so
I
stupid.
I love an NPC who, like, gets offended by something, and then the party, like, feels bad and feels like they
Yeah.
need to do it. This again, we're so fully tangented at this point.
No, no, we're not.
But
Make a
I
character that literally makes your players feel bad, but like within
I well,
reason. Don't obviously you don't want to like hurt people, but
yeah.
one of those things where it's like if something could be taken to that next step, like could
Mhm.
somebody be offended by something like
Yeah.
this? Have them go to that next logical conclusion.
Yeah.
Make witnesses there, so your players do suck.
Mhm.
Like,
The, you were talking about, like, the players feeling bad about something. I have in my one group, I have, like, a courier guild that is, like, in all these different cities, so, like, it's if you want to deliver a message across town, if you want, like, a
mhm.
package delivered, something like that. There's a courier guild that will run those packages for people. And so I had the party, like, they were trying to do this thing. They were going to go deliver something across town, and they're like, "Oh, we'll send one of the couriers." They get a courier, they send them. The courier gets there, like delivers the thing, and then is like waiting for a tip. And they were delivering it from like one party member to another party member across town because they had split up. And the courier is like waiting for a tip, and the other party member's like, "Okay, thanks," and like shuts the door, and like doesn't give him a tip. And I described like this courier just kind of like slowly lowers the hand that he had been holding out, and then just kind of like turns and walks away looking sad. um and this happened a couple more times where they would like
Oh,
hire a courier and then not tip them. And so they got blacklisted by the courier guild. They're no longer allowed to hire couriers because they keep like hiring them and then not giving them a tip when they deliver it.
oh man, that's rough.
It cracked me up. I was it's become a running thing. There was recently they're in a different city, and they were like, well, we could hire a courier to like take this to this other city. And then immediately somebody else in the party was like, I don't know. I don't know if they would, like, I know we're in another city, but like word travels. Like, I don't know if they
Yeah.
would let us
Oh yeah.
hire them. Especially if it's like a long mission, like they're gonna be sent to a different city. Like that's not an easy task. But yes, I fully support like NPCs giving your players a little bit of guilt. Um, do you have another NPC that you wanna pitch?
We've done we've done a spectrum of NPCs, and I think one we haven't done yet is a sentient item, which I think
Love a
is
sentient
once
item.
yeah, that
Yes.
if it done right, it can be either just like a tool, a little like check-in. Personally,
Mhm.
I prefer having it be like almost like not a full-blown person where it's just
Mhm.
like a little like I try to give sentient NPCs to players that I think are, and I hate saying it like this, but like who are not extra,
Mm, mhm.
because every once in a while you know somebody's gonna be like, I'm gonna make a session a sideshow for just me and this like,
Yeah.
because then at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
point you're monopolizing it because it's you and a thing.
Right. You can't
Um,
give a sentient item can't be given to a party member who, like, routinely is making the session all about them.
yeah.
Like, if you give
But
them a
like,
way to have scenes anytime they want with just them and their item, like, that's not productive.
yeah, I had a friend who like he was like he had like a cool sentient like short sword, and he would use it like strategically like to poke it under a door
Mhm.
and to know if somebody was there. Like, and he'd
Ooh.
just get a little input, and it was always like quick back and forth. It wasn't like I'm gonna have a full conversation, I'm gonna ask for advice, nothing like that. It was literally like it can talk, it is alive type thing.
Mhm.
Um, but I think this is similar to like a uh to oh, and you could always accomplish like they don't talk a lot either by by it being like just a not talkative item,
Sure.
or it being sleepy, so it's like, oh, it's dormant again. But something where the unhelpfulness would be that it's really really good when it's awake, or when it is I, I I think I talked about this before, where one of the things I really liked in the D&D movie
Mhm.
was that the sorcerer couldn't just attune to a magic item.
Yeah, he had to kind of,
Um,
like, make
he had
that
to like,
attunement happen.
yeah, like, so something where an attunement needs like a DC, like you have to
Yeah.
beat a DC, or you have to do something in a certain way, like a conditional attunement. And I
Mhm.
just think that uh, a sentient magic item where it's like, okay, it is a +3 sun sword, but its name is Soul, and it is for someone that is like supposed to be sunny, it is a
Right.
gloomy bitch. And it's just like you
Yeah.
have to kind of like, all right, it'll just function as a sword. It's just like I need it to be extra. It's like, well, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, it has a social battery. This is a thing that
Yeah.
I've learned in the past year or so. And all my friends always go like, "Oh, Junie's being a Junie," when I was a kid. But people have a social battery, and
Mhm.
sometimes when you use up your social battery, you just don't want to go out and do stuff. And it doesn't
Well,
mean you hate people or things. It's just like
and
I've used up what I got.
especially if you are normally pretty extroverted,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I have to be
for some
on
reason, if
for
you are an
yeah,
extroverted person, people who are, like, used to you being that extroverted person
yeah.
have this expectation that you will never not wanna be around people.
And
Like
I would consider myself an introvert, like, at times, and people were like, "No,
Mhm.
you're not," and I was like, "I don't, like, want to." It's like, "But I've seen you on
Right.
stage. I've seen you." It's just like, that doesn't mean I don't get anxiety, or, like, I can just do that all I can do it whenever I
I
want, but it doesn't mean I
Yeah.
want to do it like
I
that, like,
realized
geez.
I realized during COVID that I was a much more introverted person than I thought I was.
Mhm.
I'm a very social person, and I'm a very, like,
Yeah.
out outgoing and stuff like that, but I had always grown up being like, "Oh, yeah, Hunter is an extrovert. He is,
Yeah.
like, a
Mhm.
people's person, like, he just wants to always be around people." And
He just always wants it.
during COVID, I kept seeing all of these, like, videos that are like, "Oh, yeah, like, check in on your extrovert friends because 'cause they're, like, not doing well," and I was like, "I'm actually fine.
Doing great.
Wait a second," and then I started, like, really taking sort of, like, uh, a record of all of my sort of little
Feelings?
feelings about things, um, and really was like, I enjoy people, but I enjoy people that I enjoy. Like, if I am around people that I, like, don't enjoy, or I am around, like, too many people or things like that, my energy drains rapidly, and I start shutting down. um and so yeah, it's very much a thing. um Social battery is something that I don't think gets played with enough in games, though. Like, I like the
Mhm.
concept.
And just, once again, this is one of those things where it's like, I don't have the expert. This is 100% how it should be done. So
Sure.
I don't want to give somebody an idea of like, this is how you do it. And somebody's like, I did this. And then like my friends thought I was gaslighting. There was like, there's a finesse. Sometimes you need to workshop things.
Right.
And whenever you make NPCs you could just wave away what people change or just not use that NPC
Mhm.
anymore. But whenever it's an item, you need to sometimes really have players understand that if it is not a first party, like this has been used type of item, it's been
Mhm.
workshopped, all this stuff. If it's like you're wang jangling something
Mhm.
or using something in a way that it's unconventional, this may need to be changed type of thing.
Yeah, there needs to be
So
a
like,
standard, like, understanding
yeah,
that
like,
any
hey, we might need
homebrew,
to
any,
tweak
like,
this.
custom stuff is, like,
Yeah.
it may change or evolve as the game goes on.
Yeah, like I'm not
I've
trying to mess with you or punish you, but like this is not working out as
Yeah,
intended.
yeah,
It needs to be, it needs
yeah.
to be tweaked a smidge,
I in the game that I run with C17R in the chat, when in that game I had given them a magic item that like essentially gives a pool of luck points for their group to use
Mhm.
every day. And in the last session or the session before, a recent session, I was like, hey, just so we're all clear, I am gonna make a change to it because originally I had made it just like anybody in the party could use it at any time.
Mhm.
But then the party was like splitting up, and then like somebody who was not with anybody else in the party was using that item, and it's like I I want the party to have this benefit, but it also can't just be a like as a group for everybody, like you have these things no matter where you are.
Mhm.
So I added the rule of like we need to decide who has the item on them, and like you only have access to that pool as long as they are within line of sight.
Mm.
And C17R immediately started like giving me a hard time about like, oh, you're nerfing our item, Hunter. Okay, I see how it is. In a joking
Typical.
way. He was like he understands. But yeah, like if you're doing custom stuff, there needs to be that sort of like openness to changing. um you talked about a like an item that was like kind of hesitant or had a social
Mhm.
battery.
Yeah.
One of my groups, I gave them a holy weapon that is a sentient holy weapon, was designed to like kill undead and stuff like that. But the personality that manifested in it, the weapon was like left in this tomb for like a very very long time by itself in the dark, and so the personality has like developed this fear of the dark, and doesn't like being left alone and stuff like that. And so it is a glowing holy weapon that like just glows all the time. You can't turn it off because it doesn't want to be like left in the
Oof.
dark. If you try and like put it away in a bag, it doesn't like that. It will like, please don't leave me, please, no, I don't want to go in the bag. Like all of this sort of like deeply like terrified weapon. Um and uh the player who has that weapon is kind of like uh been reassuring it as they've been going through stuff, and like, I'm not gonna leave you, like you're with me, I got you, like let's go do this. And it's very fun to watch them sort of like play that way.
I thought of before we go, I think I have the ultimate NPC that your any players will hate.
Yeah.
And this is going to require some self-reflection from anybody.
Okay.
What the first thing anybody would have to do is basically take any sort of character traits that you as a real life human individual have, that are
Mm-hmm.
very noticeable. So like, and if you need to talk to a spouse or talk to friends and kind of compile that list of some bullet points, things, do that. I
Uh-huh.
know I talk with my hands. I can be insufferable. I know there's a lot of things I do, right? But
Uh-huh.
just get those real juicy ones, right? And
Right.
then give everybody like a magic item that's just like, oh, this gives the party inspiration in the day, like whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
make it so they have it, right. It's just like it just comes with like it's like, call it the game master's die or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just roll a D100 at the top end of a session, and if it is like either a very specific number, maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
your birthday, like your actual age, or 1 or 100,
Mm-hmm.
make it so that that session there is like a spectral you
Mm-hmm.
shows up in game and is like just a parody of yourself, like a Matthew Mercer parody of
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
just always there. And then do we react to it, a lot of stuff, right? And then almost make it like it's like almost a parody episode session
Mhm.
type of thing. That's what it'd suck. But then when he's not there, everybody forgets about it.
Mhm.
You have to go like,
Sort of
you
a
all don't
false
remember.
Hydra situation.
I looked it up. I don't know if you ever watched Doctor Who, but there was something called the Silence, and
Yeah.
it was an
They're
alien that
freaky.
you would only remember them
Mhm.
once you saw them again,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to like write notes to yourself or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where it's like, there's like, oh no, you all went and you did this. It's like, don't remember the guy telling us like we couldn't do that or we had to roll something
Right.
for it. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you don't remember that. But
That's
just basically,
the silence is the creatures that like they kept putting like the doctor kept putting like tally marks on himself
yes, yep.
to show like how many times he had seen them.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was, like, you had to write notes on your yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Freaky.
Yeah, but make, like, a joke version of you that no one will remember and, like, make very exaggerated promises, like,
Mhm.
"Alright, well, that's why all of you next are gonna be this or get this," and
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh, you said we're gonna do this." It's like, "I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say
Some
that.
random ghost guy.
Some random
Um
ghost guy."
the I like that a lot. Last one that I would say and I know we're over time, so I don't want to like monopolize it. But I do want to say there is a very specific NPC that has uh absolutely destroyed one of my players. Which anybody who watched Hash Browns and Hooligans, one of my players, Daniel, he in our like beginning before we had started streaming or anything like that, we had like sat down and I had done what I call the background web, which is everybody gives like okay, here are NPCs that are connected to my backstory, and then everybody else chooses like other peoples that they have also like heard of or met or stuff like that they also have a connection to, so that there's sort of this like web of like connection between the party members. So Daniel, his character Roddy, created an NPC whose name was Burt Pool, who was
Yeah, I know.
a
I
security
would
guard.
see it I would see names that looked like, it's like, "Is
Yeah,
this that
is
name?"
that
Like,
Burt
yeah,
Pool?
yeah.
He created a character whose name was Burt Pool, who was a security guard at the university that Roddy taught at. And so they were like friends. They had established this relationship, and what Daniel had sort of created for this bond here was that Roddy as a character was as Daniel put it, a reverse Indiana Jones. He was a professor at this university who would break into their archives and like steal artifacts and stuff that they had like taken to the museum. He would break in, he would steal those items, and then he would return to them to where he thought they belonged. So like it belongs in a relic, like it belongs in a dungeon. And he would just like take this item and take it back to where he thinks it belongs. And sometimes he was correct, and sometimes he wasn't. But like that was his whole thing, was he was stealing items from the museum to put them back out into the world. And so the connection he had with Burt Poole was Burt was the security person who worked with him to kind of like let him in places he shouldn't have been in, and stuff like that, so Roddy could get these items. The first episode, we recorded this session, we're playing, and we started the episode with all of the players already arrested, and then had to, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Hooligans who plans on it or wants to in the future, it is spoilers for session one. The so Roddy is sitting in this wagon. All of the players are arrested in the back of this wagon, being transported somewhere, and we started the game with flashbacks to how they got there, and playing through those flashbacks. The way Roddy got there was that he was mid mission, like stole this thing, leaves, goes with Bert. They both run down into the sewers. Bert is like leading the way, runs like running through the sewers to get them out of there because the alarms had sounded or something. I don't remember. Um, and they like round a corner and there's a bunch of thugs that are there. And Roddy's like, okay, well, Bert and I'll get ready to fight. And then Bert just kind of like walks over to the thugs, and like takes up a position with them and is like, it's like, this is, I'm sorry, like I've got a buyer already lined up for that. Like that's it's not something that I can just let walk out of here. And like
Mhm.
it becomes this whole thing. The And they like knock out Roddy, and as Roddy's like not passing out, he's like, it's not personal, it's just business. And like and then Roddy is unconscious and he wakes up in this wagon. The That hatred of Bert, of
Yeah.
like, this is a character that he created as a like, this is my, like, this is a contact that I have, this is a friend, an ally that I have in this thing. And then session one, it was like, no, you don't actually. That person is like has actively betrayed you. um Caveat to this, it is very important that you have buy-in from your players on something like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Like there is something that I have used in the past is like, if I'm having my players come up with like very detailed backstory stuff, I want my players to tell me, this is a protected character. This is a character that like I don't want you to mess with. I don't want anything bad to happen to this character, stuff like that. Because the players have to have the confidence and the trust in the story that you are not going to like, if they give you a character, you're not going to immediately take that character and like kill them or something like that. Like they have to have that trust. Um, but there are also a lot of characters and players' backstories that they don't necessarily have a like, yes, this is exactly how it is, this is exactly how it goes, like this is, I don't want them to be in danger at all. Like they just have, okay, yeah, this is a character, do what you want with it. um with that character specifically, I messaged Daniel and I was like, hey, you have a couple of characters in your backstory here. uh how are you okay with me playing with those dynamics? And I've done this in the past with other players as well, of like, hey, you have this idea of how this is set up. Do you Are you okay with me playing with that? Like that is your perception of how this is. Are you okay with that perception not being reality? And like playing with that. Burt Pool became a like a running thing of like, they wanted to find him, they wanted to kill him. Like he had betrayed Roddy. He ended up showing up again later. Our final session of Hooligans was a Christmas special that was the hunt for Burt Pool. We did a bunch of different like stuff with that. um and I loved having that dynamic kind of there. And it became a character that like, Daniel hated that character so much, but like hated it in a way of like, i I hate this character to my core, and I love that you've done that. Like I love that you've made a character that
Mhm.
I can have that intense hatred for. um it's very difficult to create a character that will be hated fully. And somebody in the chat, Haliepa, had said, and I might have mispronounced that, I apologize, had said, personally, you can only hate somebody you liked in the first place, like a helpful NPC who later betrays the party.
Mm.
Um, I find that to be very, very true. There needs to be, in order to have the deepest level of, uh, like, to my core, I hate this person. There needs to either be a personal connection, or a level of like and trust that is then broken.
Yeah.
The those lead to those. There needs to be a feeling there in order to become a strong feeling. If a player doesn't care about it, they're not going to care about it when it betrays them. They might like be upset about it, and they might like still hunt it down or whatever, but there
Mm.
won't be that like strong emotional response to it. It's difficult to manifest that. And something I deeply appreciate about Daniel as a player is that Daniel is always willing to let me stab him with something from his backstory, and like give him those strong feelings about things. He's always down to take that ride with me. So shout out Daniel. You're a real one. Appreciate you. But
As if he's like he passes on. It's like
gone too soon. He did just recently stop playing in one of my games because he's like moving around and stuff. He's got a lot of stuff going on. And he doesn't have time to play anymore. And it's very weird for me because I haven't not had him in a game since 2020. He has been
mm.
consistently in different games, at least one game at a time with me since 2020, and has been in two, three, four, I think 5 or 6 of my different campaigns. Um, so like, there's been a lot of different stuff that he's done over that time, and yeah, so it's weird to not have him at the table anymore. Um, Junie, do you have any last like notes on building NPCs your players will hate or anything like that?
I think we I think we both hammered in that buy-in is like the
Buy-in's
biggest
very
thing.
important.
There's do something like, yeah, oh, you got me, or like, oh,
Yeah,
this again. There's the difference between like, you know what I mean, and making it so your players hate a situation or a game or
right.
coming to the table. Nobody wants to dread a character.
Yeah,
You don't want people to dread a session. There's the dread of like, oh, this might be bad for us, but like, you don't want to make it like we don't want to play the game.
right.
Don't be
The
afraid
the
to.
character should
y-
always be a character that they hate on a fun level.
Yes,
Not
yeah,
one that like them as a player
yeah.
just is filled with
Uh, and
actual like strong negative
if
feelings.
that's the dynamic you have with your players, like, it's just like, I'm punishing you, yeah, punish me, daddy, I want to feel pain, then that's on you. Just make sure
That's a
everybody's
different thing.
happy
We don't have
on some
advice on that.
level. All right, you got to come for the after hours
Yeah,
show, Warlocks and Waffles nights, to get
yeah.
that,
The
to
burnt
get
waffles.
them, the burnt waffles one, yeah. But
um,
um but basically, just don't be afraid. You're not being, I don't know, this could be going the wrong way, or
mhm,
uh, don't feel like you're ruining the fun, or being a punk
mhm,
by in the middle of us, like, how during a session break or after, like, hey, is everybody having fun? But no, seriously though, like, you want me to take this back? You guys okay with what's going on,
right.
type of thing? And it doesn't have to be like, you're walking on eggshells, something like that. Just
Mhm,
just check in if it's like, yeah, actually, this guy's kind of like, I don't know, I'm getting kind of heated. And it's like, you know what?
right.
Then let's just go to the next thing, or I will stop doing that very specific
Yeah.
thing. Because
Oh, I've
if
I've
anybody,
had players
yeah,
message me during a game and be like, "Hey, this NPC that you're playing right now is picture perfect carbon copy of my ex. Like, I cannot interact with this NPC much longer." Like, absolutely. Let's move. Like, let's get them out of here. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um,
And it's great if you establish that on the front end where people know they
mhm,
can do that.
yeah,
I don't always get to that because I get so guns a blazing that I don't get to
yeah,
do a lot of the pre-check stuff, so I have
Well,
to
you
consciously
run a lot of like one shots and with like an ever
yes.
changing group of people and stuff.
So
Yeah.
but so that makes me more cognizant of during the halfway breaks I have to ask more.
Right.
I try to make sure like I'm vibe checking people a little more during.
Mm-hmm.
So some people don't do that as much during, they do a lot of it more after, like they
Yeah.
do a lot of before or like after a session. So like do what works for you,
Mm-hmm.
but do it in some way shape or form,
Mm-hmm.
because like you don't want people to like not want to play anymore.
Right.
There's a difference between like, oh, this is a slog, or oh man, we got to get this to get back to the fun part. You know, that there's give and take. You know,
Mm-hmm.
things go up and down. They're gonna make the other characters and other rewarding moments that feel that much better.
Mm-hmm.
But just do them vibe checks, and you know when you do this kind of stuff, like it doesn't have to be you're ruining it if you just give them that heads up, like, hey, look, anybody okay if your inventory gets messed with or something? You know, you
Mm-hmm.
guys just understand it's gonna be fun potentially, but and then do the thing I always like to do and make a shopkeep that steals their shit. You know what I mean? Like just literally go into their D&D Beyond, steal their items and sell them
Yeah.
back to them. You know,
Yeah.
do something like that, but like don't just do it and then somebody takes it. Some, you know,
Yeah.
same way there's a character that gets too attached that somebody's gonna get kind of like actually mad. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so check
I
in.
I had
You
a
know,
I had a
and make sure
shopkeeper
you're everybody's
who
good.
sold extremely discounted bags of holding.
Hmm.
And they were extremely discounted because they were bags of holding that had like two openings to the same extra dimensional space. And so he had one opening, and then he would sell these bags of holding to like adventuring parties, and then they would just start putting stuff in there. And he would just occasionally go in and take stuff out and would like add it to his stock in his store. And like most of the time, the players would never notice because the majority of the time he was taking like random stuff out of there. um it is important that if you do something like that, you are keeping a very careful note of what you have taken out of their bag.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
then if they try and get that thing later and they're like, oh, that's weird, it's not on my my character sheet, but I know we had put this in the bag of holding at some point. And it's like, yeah, you did put it in the bag of holding at some point, it's not there anymore.
Mhm.
um I want to circle back to something you had said of like it's important to get buy-in for like if you're doing something like a very hated NPC or something like that. It's important to get like that in that buy-in before players have uh like strong emotions towards that character. Um I would take it even a step further and say if you are planning on introducing an NPC that is going to that you're intentionally going to be getting like any sort of very strong emotions towards, you should check in with your party to make sure that like they're cool with that sort of buy-in.
Mhm.
Because there are like some players don't want to deal with characters that are like designed to be really flirty with them. Some don't want to deal with characters who like you've brought them in to be like a stand-in father figure or something like that. Like
Yeah.
the some players don't want to deal with any of those things. Anytime you are trying to like manufacture a genuine emotional connection or reaction or experience, you need to make sure that your players are like buying into that and are cool with it.
Mhm.
Because some might not be. Um, any other last thoughts on this, Junie?
I guess I just want to know what people end up going with, and what everybody else's most annoying,
Mm.
hated NPCs. And if you, how many times is enough? Is it like every session? I like to go like, you know, just enough sessions where I think they forgot about this guy,
Hmm.
but long enough, but not long enough where when he comes in, they're like, is that? No, like just long enough where they're like, oh, damn it. Like, you know, with like, oh, he's okay, all
Yeah.
right. And then
Yeah.
they have to deal with it. Yeah. That, yeah, that's
Cool.
that sweet spot.
Yeah. If you make hated NPCs, let us know so we know what you're doing with them. Um, I feel like we've given a lot of calls to action throughout this episode.
Yeah, the entire episode was the
There's
call
been
action.
there's
Like,
been a lot of them. Instead of doing calls to action at the end here, um, Junie, what is your most hated NPC? Either a NPC that you have hated as a player, or the NPC that you have introduced that got the worst reaction.
um, I think it is. It's more of like just like I think we've talked about how like we have like pocket NPCs where we
Mm-hmm.
just go like whenever I have to I whip out this one, and it's that Gilderoy overconfident type of like douchebag character.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing because it's indicative. I've said like, one line, and it's the one guy that says he takes something the player says out of context and he goes, "Don't worry, I accept your apology."
Yeah,
I that's my
you like
that's my
that one.
favorite that's my favorite jerk character, and everybody goes just like this. And just there's that moment
Yeah,
where it's just like he hasn't done anything to warrant us killing him,
right. But as
but
soon as he
as
does,
soon as he slips up
yeah,
just enough, and he never does, he
yeah,
will never
yeah,
fully slip up, it's just enough. And I never make him so useless. Like it's that in between of like the version 1 and 2 of like the character that is lying about everything and the character
yeah,
that can back it up. He's in the
yeah.
middle. He's not useless, but he's not like OP. So he's
Mm-hmm.
right there where it's just like, is it worth it? It's like it's never worth it.
Right.
And it's that sweet spot of like, ooh, I hate him so much. I hate him. That's my litmus test. I'll shift to reality mid game and go, hey, like I don't want to tell you how to feel about this. I don't like this guy, and I want to punch him in the throat.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah, throwing that
There's
out there.
there's absolutely a level of like, if you hate playing the NPC for the players,
hmm
it's probably you probably have hit the
But
nail
then
on
it's
the head
also like
there.
a love hate thing for me too, because I'm like, oh man, I hate it, but like at the same time, it's really fun.
Um, I think my I think mine, like, Burt Poole is a very hated character. I've had like other people who watched the show like that hated Burt Poole and messaged me about it. The I'll never forget the when all of the hooligans, we all went to Gen Con together to like all hang out in person. And we went out to a Mexican restaurant, and while we were
I
at this
I I,
Mexican
I
restaurant,
didn't want to bring it up because I was just like I didn't want to go into it, but yeah,
yeah,
that
while
was
we
gonna
were
be the
at
first thing.
this Mexican restaurant, the waiter comes over with like two pitchers of like margarita and sits it down on the table. And we're like, oh, we didn't order that. And he says, oh yeah, this was sent over. It's from, and he like looks at a note and it says, Burt Poole. And the immediate visceral rage
Yeah,
that
I did not
radiated
understand.
off
Yeah,
of Daniel was so funny. Um,
yeah,
that
I
one's
had to be explained. Yeah.
yeah, that one's very like very strong. Daniel also has another character that he despises in my games who's called Mongrel, who's this sort of like demigod type character who's like really just like disease and rot and like this likes rats and stuff like that, and like kind of infects people's heads and slowly corrupts them. Daniel hates that character, and he shows up a lot and just kind of like pops up throughout stories. But I think the most hated NPC I've ever had in a game was there was a character who I introduced who was a just sort of a traveling merchant type character. um and the party like interacted with them. They bought some stuff off of him, and he like gave them like a prediction of the future for them. And then they like went off and they started doing their things. And then all of his predictions started coming true. And the party at some point found out that he was like causing that to happen, was like hiring people to make those
hmm
things happen. And like that got a pretty negative reaction from the whole party. Um, but it wasn't like a volatile one. Actually, no, that's not the most hated one. Like because that's not as hated as Burt Pool. It's the one that popped into my mind originally, but like it's not the most hated. I think the one that is the most hated, the most like on site, like I would attack this character, is there is a character in my game called the Mayor, who is a an entity that I called a chaos demon, who had like come to this world and had like taken up residency in this little town and was like manipulating the town. And he's a chaos demon. He feeds on chaos. He feeds on like potential chaos, active chaos, anything like that. And so when the party arrives in this town, it is a like very very calm town. It's like this town where people are walking around and they're like, hey, like what's going on, any like problems in town? And everybody in town is like, problems here in Northcrest? No way, Northcrest is such a calm and peaceful town. And it's just like this very like weird place.
Mm-hmm.
And like everything is kind of off. And so when they found the mayor was this, I described him as an Aarakocra, but with the head of a pelican instead of like a regular like eagle or something like that. So he has
Okay.
the head of a pelican, and his neck is just like weirdly long and noodly. So his head would just kind of like move all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And he spoke in like riddles and rhymes. And the party like asked him a bunch of questions, and he just would never give them a straight answer. And he hired them to do a thing, and they demanded just an insane amount of gold in exchange for the thing. Like I don't know why they thought it was the correct amount of gold, but they were like thousands and thousands of gold they asked for this for doing this job. And he was like, yeah, sure, like I'll give you that. And so they go off and they do the job,
Yeah, we'll
and
do it.
like come back, and he gives them that number of gold fish. And they like all go up in arms. They're so upset about this, and he's like, well, you didn't specify what type of gold you wanted. These are gold fish. Like you've been paid.
I hate
Our
that
our
guy.
deal is rendered. But his whole thing was that like he
Away.
he feeds on he has made a town where the where everything is exactly ordered. Everything is like everything happens the same way every day. There is no chaos. There's only like law and order, and everything happens in a certain way. And so people like the party was like, well, he's a chaos demon, why is he making it so like structured? And the reasoning was he is a chaos demon. He feeds on like the potential chaos of like any little thing that happens is going to make everything react poorly. Like any
Mm-hmm.
minor inconvenience will make this whole thing collapse upon itself. Also, the like life and just general everything is chaotic. There is a level of chaos to it. So by like structuring everything so that it happens exactly the same, and like it's this perfect little like idealistic land, um that in itself is the most chaotic thing, because it is so counter what it should be, that the chaos is like just huge amounts. And so he feeds on that. But the I don't think I've ever had a party be so like immediately, oh, we're gonna rip this guy up, we're gonna kill this guy. This
As
is like
soon as I
the
can. Yeah.
immediate hatred directed towards them. So yeah, I think that was my most hated NPC. I had that part, like the some of the people that were in that group went back to that town in their current campaign. And like as soon as I mentioned that, like, oh well, we can get you an audience with like the mayor of the town, there was immediate just like, if you do this to us again, Hunter, like we will we will hunt you down.
I swear. We're going.
So I think that's my most hated. Um thank you so much to everybody who was here this morning. We appreciate it. Thank you for making the time. Have a great rest of your week. Remember to embrace the nonsense. If you make really hated NPCs, let us know about them. Drop them in our Discord. Let us know the nonsense you're getting up to. Have a great rest of your week. We will be back on Friday. I almost said Monday. We will be back on Monday, but first we'll be back on Friday. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you then. Bye, y'all.